Other runners up in the D are the... That sounds really bad. Alright, we're going to try it again. Hey all, it's Jason from GameRave.com. Welcome to GameRaveTV. Alright guys, first and foremost, a huge shout out to Arvid, our newest Patreon member. Because of his donation, he got a shout out on the TV show, his name on the website, and a really cool postcard drawing from yours truly, which I would have shown you, except I forgot to take a photo of it before I sent it out to him. So, we're back with the letter legacy, and we're actually down to the 2 final episodes for it. This episode, we're going to deal with the letters C, D, and E. Alright, jumping right to it. All 3 letters, including E, are actually fairly healthy in their amount of selections. E was the most surprising, just because I didn't think there'd be that many games to choose from. But, silly me, I should know this, I own the collection. We'll start with the letter C. C did have a bunch of great choices and, you know, had a fair amount of sports and RPGs and what have you and so forth. But to get this video under 10 minutes, we're going to jump right to the finalists. The 3 finalists would have been Capcom vs. SNK Pro, a great fighting game, a really surprisingly great conversion on how old the hardware was at the time when it came out. You've got the entire Crash Bandicoot series. You really can't pick one. All 3 games plus Crash Bash and Crash Team Racing are just some of the best games you'll ever play. Crash Team Racing is probably the only game at the time that could actually go toe-to-toe with Mario Kart and actually beat it in certain aspects. So the winning C game is obviously Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Now, if you've watched this entire Letter Legacy series, you know that oftentimes I would not pick an obvious winner like, say, Metal Gear because it was available on other systems and other, you know, interesting facets. Castlevania Symphony of the Night is available on other systems and for download and so forth, but putting into the context of the legacy, Castlevania, when it was released on PlayStation, was not only a godsend in terms of gameplay and graphics and creativity, but it was the breaking point that truly separated the PlayStation from the Nintendo 64 and Super Nintendo, because it finally got its own Metroid-style game. And there's just... Yes, you can play it on other systems, but playing it on its original home system, the original PlayStation, with the PlayStation controller, and just knowing that the save data will transfer over into Metal Gear for a nice little, you know, reference cameo type thing, you just can't beat it. And to this day, this is the one game that, at least if you ask anyone who had a PlayStation back in the day for their top 10 games, this one is almost always in the top 10 no matter who you were or what you played. So we move on to D. And D, just like C, actually has a Capcom fighting game that made the final you know, runners-up, so to speak, and that was the Darkstalkers series. Darkstalkers and Darkstalkers 3 came to the PlayStation while the Sega Saturn got the 2 exclusively. Interesting point, if you've never played Darkstalkers on the PlayStation, and I'm talking about number 1, both the system and Darkstalkers, Psygnosis actually did the translation for Capcom, and they did something that at the time got fanboys both pissy and joyous, and that was they changed the graphics. If you compare PlayStation 1's Darkstalkers to the arcade version, the PlayStation 1 is much more robust in its color choices, it's more vibrant in its choices, and this would be amazing if it weren't for the fact that the game is so goddamn hard. I've owned that game since its almost release date on the original PlayStation, and to this day I cannot beat it without a Game Shark. Even on the easiest setting, I just get my ass kicked every time. And this is a guy who can play level 8 Street Fighter Alpha like nobody's business. Other runners-up include Deception, actually the whole series. If you've never played it, you're basically the bad person in the game, and you get to set up traps like Wile E. Coyote trying to catch the Roadrunner. The only difference is you actually win. Side tangent, I'm a graphic designer by trade, and Deception 3's cover is one of my favorites of all time. It's just like the absolute perfect color choices and arrangement and so forth. But yeah, whatever. Other runners-up include Devil Dice, an absolutely fanatical and devilishly evil, pun intended, good puzzle game. You basically are a little devil, run around on dice, and you have to match the number on the die to the actual number of next to it. So if you have a die that when you turn is on the number 3, there has to be 2 more with the number 3 on top of it. Other than that, there's Dino Crisis, which actually almost won, but it's available on the Dreamcast in higher res, and you can play on PC and what have you. So, what is our D Letter Legacy game? People might complain, but it's going to be Die Hard Trilogy number 1. Of all the games in the letter D category, and I have to say the letter D because otherwise it sounds really pornographic, Die Hard Trilogy to this day has always just been that game you remember. If you have never played it, it's rough around the edges. The graphics are fairly lacking. The characters have like 8 polygons to them. But what the game does so well, and to this day hasn't really been topped, is just its rambunctiousness. There's 3 different styles. Die Hard 1 is basically your action-adventure game run through the tower. Cool explosions, you can see through walls to figure out where bad guys are, stuff like that. Die Hard 2 was the greatest light gun game ever, and if you've watched our light gun game video, you know I've rambled about that for a good, 10-20 minutes. If you didn't see that video, A, watch it. B, just know that this is the only light gun game where you can shoot everything. Every ceiling tile, every soda can machine, every character. You can mercy shot innocent people that are on fire. Absolutely amazing. Die Hard 3 is a racing game where you basically track down the bombs planted throughout the city. This is the lesser of the 3, but if you can get used to the like loose driving controls, just a fanatic fun time game. 007 Racing more or less stole part of this for some of its levels. That brings us to the letter E. The letter E actually had a whole ton of collector sets because of the EA triple packs. It also has Easter Bunny's Big Day, which was a unique PlayStation release, not just because it was focused on Easter, but because the printing graphic designer decided to make the spine purple. And it is the only game in the entire PlayStation history whose spine is not black. So that makes kind of a neat collectible to have if you're not going for a full set. Alright, so letter E. Runners-up include Airgites, Squaresoft's fighting game that featured Final Fantasy VII characters because clearly they didn't think the game could hold up on its own, even though it's really good. A little bit like Smash Brothers, where it's just simple button presses, nothing too crazy. I do like the character designs, though, including the one girl that uses a yo-yo, even though she's a cop and has a gun. There's also Elemental Gearbolt, an excellent light gun game, more RPG-ish than anything you've ever seen before. It also has the awesome Collector's Edition. There's also Echo Knight, which was a really great horror game, although more mystery and psychological. You were basically on a boat trapped in the spiritual realm trying to get all these lost souls off the boat, and you did that by finishing the stories that they were in the middle of. That game was actually really good. It's really hard on the controls, very, very stiff and archaic. It's like playing Kingsfield on the Titanic, more or less. That leaves us with the winning letter E game, which is Einhander by Squaresoft. If you've never played it, it is a spaceship shooting game that yells at you in German. And everything I just said is true. It is right. During the PlayStation era, Square really tried expanding its horizons. They tried all different things. If you didn't pay attention to the import market at the time, Square, who is normally just known for their role-playing games, were trying everything. They had baseball games. They had a racing RPG on the PlayStation, and Einhander was just another one of those games that they were just trying to expand into other categories and genres, and it turned out awesome. Like I said, imagine Blade Runner, but with, like, German people screaming at you. Like, it's just really good controls, really cool weapon systems. The term Einhander actually means one hand, and it's named from the ship because of the way it holds onto the weapons with its little underarm. Highly recommend it. It's really not that in demand these days. You can get it for a decent dollar amount, but highly recommend it. I love it. It's one of those games that you just can always go back to. Alright guys, that does it for this episode. We are down to the last 2 letters in the Legacy game. If you're just joining us in the GameRaveTV universe, the letter Legacy has been going on for almost a year now. Like, I didn't realize how long it's been since we did this. So I can't wait. August is looking great. We are going to start revealing all the projects the week of August 30th. And it is just going to be a good time. I've actually shown one of the videos to a couple people, and their feedback is really cool, so you guys should enjoy it when it comes out in August. For that, guys, we will see you next week on Pause Mode. It'll be the Neo Geo game Burning Fight, and we'll see you guys later. Take care, you guys. Have a great week.